The following is a special presentation of iRacing on LSRTV, your home for sim racing. Live tonight from the Chicagoland Speedway, LSRTV is happy to say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to our continuing coverage of the 2018 Real Sim Racing Icebreaker Winter Series, powered by LSRTV, on your home for sim racing and iRacing Live. Happy to be with you for the 7th race of 9 on this 2018 campaign for tonight's Windy City 180. We welcome you topside into the LSRTV booth, where, as always, myself, Evan Pasoko, and Brian Macklin going to be making a call for you this evening. Downstairs, our producer, Cisco Scaruza, is twisted and tweaking the dials, making sure that we get to you. And, Brian, we have reached, finally, the last third of the season, and we mix things up in the middle portion of the year. We got to Iowa, Loudon, and, of course, the one that I was really looking forward to a week ago in Road America. We kind of get back into, I don't want to say a regular kind of groove, but these are racetracks that these guys are more familiar with. Chicago tonight, Richmond, and Homestead, and we have a great championship battle to keep an eye on into these final 3 weeks.
Boy, do we ever. There's at least 4 guys that look like they have a pretty good shot at it, with Andrew Freenor's on top of the points right now, and he's looking to carry that momentum that he's been having pretty much all season long into tonight's race. And this is going to be a really exciting race. This is one of my more favorite racetracks to come to at Chicagoland, because the track really widens out and you can really move up the racetrack once the tires wear out. I believe once we see these guys have a few laps on their tires, you're going to see them running that middle to high groove down in 1 and 2, and they may even venture up there a little bit in 3 and 4, depending on how much grip is up there. Should be a very exciting race. It creates a lot of passing opportunities, because if you have a car that can run on the bottom, you can try to go down on the bottom of the racetrack to get around that guy that might be running up top, and vice versa. If you're faster up top and you got a guy in front of you that's running the bottom, go up there and see if you can carry that speed and get around him.
And if you were with us just a week ago, you know it's Jeff Ford who took the win from Road America, taking a series high 3rd trip to victory lane on the season, and that only tightened things up more as we look at the championship standings. Coming into tonight, it is Andrew Friedars at the top of the pile, but Gay Wood was only 7 points back in the number 2 spot, even tighter than the week before. David Comstock, 3rd, is 13 points back, and Jeff Ward, courtesy of that 3rd win. Keep in mind, he is a start, been able to catch up to these guys after a slow start to the season. He is only 21 points back, and then you'll have a little bit of a jump, 68 in the negative for Nelson Rivera, who comes into tonight P5. But those top 4, Brian, might as well throw them under a blanket with 4 races to go at this point, anybody's game.
Absolutely, and I really like the situation that Jeff Ward is in. He's one of the better drivers in this series, and he's one of those guys that he likes coming from behind. He likes playing that role of the underdog, and I would not count him out at all. 21 points may seem daunting with just 3 races to go, but if there's any one driver that I would want to be in that situation and know that he has a shot to do it, I think it's going to be Mr. Ward. So definitely going to keep an eye out on him, and he was very fast in practice. As a matter of fact, I believe he put up the fastest lap time in practice. Didn't quite get that lap down that he was looking for in qualifying, as right now he sits in that 3rd position for qualifying, but definitely going to have some speed. And he's one of those guys, when you come to a 1.5-mile track like this, you have to watch out for him, because he is always so fast. And if you remember back to the last time we went to one of these cookie cutter tracks at Las Vegas, it was Jeff Ford that came home with the win, and he won the first 2 stages of the race as well. He had a clean sweep on that race.
And it was one of only 2 times we've seen somebody get the clean sweep this evening. David Comstock got it as well the week following at Michigan. Those stages have been and will continue to be critical in your search for the championship, because if you could win both stages, that's an extra 20 bonus points. That could make up the difference alone from 4th place in the championship, with Jeff Ward sits 21 points back up to Andrew Friedars. So that is big. On top of, obviously, the points up at the end of the race, there is nothing keeping these guys back from competing, and all of our main championship stays appear to be on track and ready to rock and roll tonight from the Windy City, from Chicagoland Speedway. Let's go trackside. Take a look at tonight's LSRTV starting grid. Pole position for this one, blistering lap time for the driver who is second in the points coming into tonight. The 31.244 is best of all, and Gabe Wood will start on pole position, accompanied by the 42 David Comstock outside of the front row in second position. Back in row number 2, that is where you will find the fastest driver at practice earlier this evening. If he was able to match that practice time, would have been on pole. Wasn't able to do so, drops 3 100ths. He starts in third position tonight with Shane Ewing to the outside in fourth, and Daniel Eberhardt one row behind them to round out the top 5.
Starting in 6th there tonight is our points leader coming into the event. Andrew Freenars will start in that 6th position. Then we have Dwayne Vincent sitting in 7th. Nelson Rivera will start 8th. And then we have Scott Walter starting 9th. Shane Stanley Iyer is starting 10th. And running out this 11-car field here tonight, Steve Bivacqua will start P11.
Let's look top to bottom at your starting grid. Let's talk about the contest here tonight at Chicago. 120 laps total, top to bottom. Each race could be at lap 30 and lap 60. With the bonus points we handed out from that point, we will race on to the end of this. And Brian, we talk about this Chicagoland Speedway. It is a 1.5-mile racetrack, preferably though one of my favorites, with banking at 18 degrees at the quarters, and that unique feature, that curved back straightaway, makes the exit of 2 and the entrance into 3 a little bit different than anywhere else.
Yeah, it's going to be a very exciting race. I can't wait for these guys to get some laps on the tires, watch these cars skating around. I was watching them in practice, and it looked like this car had a little bit of a loose condition after a couple of laps on the tires. So it could be a very exciting race to see who can manage that condition and who can keep their car going in the right direction.
As always, we're happy that you're spending a Monday night with us at LSRTV and our Racing Live. Pace car going to go down to the safety of the pit lane this time, and the field is going to be in the hands of the 00 Gabe Wood, looking to make up a 7-point deficit in the championship. Also looking for win number 2 for him on the season. Green flag in the air, we're off and away.
Gabe Wood gets away cleanly. He's already gotten clear of David Comstock, but here comes Jeff Ward to the bottom of the racetrack. It looked like he had a chance at Gabe as they went off into turn 1. He backed out of it. He's going to move ahead of David Comstock now, and actually they're going to be side by side for that second position as they go down the back straightaway for the first time. Comstock on the outside, Ward on the bottom. Ward drives it off into the corner and is able to clear Comstock, and now he will move into that second position, but it's going to be Gabe Wood that's going to come back to lead lap number 1.
Gabe Wood is going to maintain up front for the first 1.5 miles. And this one, look at the crossover by Comstock aggressively to the inside. Almost surprised himself how good of a run he got. It out of Jeff Ward, checked up as they got tight into 1. And now as we come off and turn number 2, single file for 1, 2, and 3. First front of the racetrack is for 4th. And it is Daniel Eberhardt on the inside. Had the nose last time by, but is trying to clear Shane Ewing for that spot. Looks like could do so as a 32, a little bit slow out of 4.
Battle for the lead. Here comes Jeff Ward. Gabe is going to lead at the stripe, but Ward is on the bottom of the racetrack, and he is going to try to take that lead away from Gabe. Down to the bottom of the racetrack in turn 1, and he's got a clear advantage over Gabe Wood. And on lap number 3, we have a new leader, Jeff Ward, to the point, and he's going to try to sail away from these guys as quickly as he can. Made easy work of Gabe Wood. He's already opened up about a half a car length advantage, and now he's trying to get away as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, that battle that you were just talking about behind him between Dan Eberhardt and Shane Ewing, it has calmed down, as it looks like these guys have moved ahead of him, and now Dan Eberhardt is looking for David Comstock in that 3rd position as they head to 1.
Ewing also dropped the 2nd spot. Friedars was able to get up and around him, so Ewing goes -2. He falls to 6th. Friedars goes 6th to 5th, and Eberhardt also +1 from 5th to 4th. But as you said, he is on the back of the 42 with Comstock. And one of the benefits of having that 30-lap marker for the opening stage in this race is you know at least how long you may have to go on the tires. You don't know how short you may go, depending on if we get any caution flags in between our stage breaks. But there is no question of, do I need to save a lot on the beginning of a run, because we could be going for 40, 50, 60 laps. You know 30 is the max, and you have Ford calculating that he can drive that aggressive and make it work in that time frame, trying to stretch it out for the race lead. It looks like 4 car lengths in top. Gabe Wood to 2nd position, but the top 4 all still within half a second of each other, not a ton of separation.
The way I would approach these first two stages, if I'm any of these drivers, is see how hard you can drive this car without going over the edge. Drive this car as hard as you can without actually pushing it over the edge to see what the capabilities are for later in the race. You're going to have a 60-lap run to the finish if we can manage to go green that entire stage. This is an opportunity for you to run this car as hard as possible just to see what you got, and it looks like Gabe Wood might have been doing just that, as he almost got a piece of the turn 2 wall. That opens the door for David Comstock now to go to the bottom of the racetrack, and he's going to bring Daniel Eberhardt along with him. Comstock will move into that second position, and now the battle is on for third and fourth as Gabe is on the outside. He makes contact with the wall this time, and that's going to make easy work for Daniel Eberhardt as he will move into third. I don't see any significant damage on the right side of that 00 car, but he seems like he's struggling with the handling at this point. We're going to have to keep an eye on that guy.
Gabe Wood got into the outside wall. Didn't look to be all too hard, but things are getting a little bit hectic for him in the opening laps. Led for the first two, and then once Jeff Ford got on top of him, Comstock and Eberhardt were in no mood to cut him a break, and your pole sitter has fallen to fourth position in just the opening 7 laps of this contest. And even at that point, not quite in the clear, because Freidars is not on that far out of the back end either in the 88 machine, as they start to look to be about a second off at the top spot. And Jeff Ford 8 laps in, first time I think we've been single file top to bottom. The folks outside of the top 5 have not really shuffled up too much, with the exception of Shane Ewing, who we've noted fell from 4th to 6th. Everybody else is exactly where they started. Vincent 7th, Rivera 8th, Walter at 9th, Stanley Iyer 10th, and Bavacqua P11.
And for Dwayne Vincent, this is a typical race for him. He started in mid-pack, and he doesn't really have a lot of speed right now, but this is one of those guys that he just kind of hangs around at the beginning of the race, doesn't really make any flashy moves, but when it's all said and done, you have to believe he's going to be in the middle of this thing and battling for the race lead, as he is chasing down Shane Ewing right now. That would be for 6th position if he can get there, and he looks like he's got a really good handling car right now, not really struggling with it at this point. He's keeping that car pretty much going in the right direction all the way around, but he does have a little bit of a challenge from behind, as here comes Nelson Rivera right on his bumper. These guys are going at it for 6th, 7th, and 8th.
And it's almost become a second group. The guys up front still nice and tight. In fact, we're going to go side by side for 4th position briefly. Freidars to the inside of Gabe Wood, but a little bit of a bobble on the inside of 1 and 2. Then, though there is no progressive banking, the outside still gets a little bit of an advantage because you're coming off of that hill down the back stretch, and Gabe Wood is going to be able to successfully play defense for the time being. He will stay 4th. Freidars will continue to challenge from 5th. So a couple of battles going on the racetrack at the moment as Freidars looks way down to the apron again.
And we saw that last time by down in 1 and 2 that the outside line can work if you're trying to defend the position, because Gabe Wood was able to hold off Freidars, and he used that outside line to really carry some momentum to hold on to that position. Meanwhile, big battle going on right behind them. Dwayne Vincent, Shane Ewing, and Nelson Rivera. It's side by side between Dwayne and Shane, and now here comes Nelson Rivera as well. Dwayne Vincent's going to make the pass to move into 6th, and now Nelson is going to try to pass Shane Ewing as well. As they come off the corner, though, Shane's got the outside line, and we have one in the grass on the front stretch. That's Daniel Eberhardt. He's sliding through the grass and ends up on pit road. I don't believe that's going to bring out a caution as he stays down off the racing surface. And yes, the caution did come out, so we're going to have our first caution of the evening. And it looks like it's going to be because of the 90 car.
He was all on his own in 3rd position, got the wall, and it was a little bit harder, but about the same way that we saw Gabe Wood do just a couple of laps earlier. And that 90 machine was off in the grass, and when you're in that grass, you can't really turn or slow down that race car. And he was pitched going to the pit road wall at about 132 miles an hour until he finally got on some asphalt, and we caught it at the last second, turned that car to the right, Brian, gave it full throttle, and I don't know how, but miraculously keeps that car out of the fence as the caution flag comes out.
Yeah, he did an incredible job hanging onto that car and somewhat keeping it under control as he was sliding through the grass and sliding closer and closer to that pit wall. Very impressive, and I think, as you mentioned, when he slid onto the asphalt, that gave him the opportunity to gain a little bit of control back in the car, and he was able to turn that car away from the inside pit wall and keep his car from getting any more damage than it had already sustained. But now, after we've completed 12 laps of green flag racing, these guys are going to come to pit road. I don't think you'll see too many two-tire calls here, but we could see some strategy play here to try to get some track position right before the end of the stage, as Jeff Ward and David Comstock are going to lead these guys down onto pit road. Everybody is on pit road. Nobody elected to stay out on the racetrack, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here. Evan Pasoko, you think anybody will take 2?
We'll find out. Only about 12 laps of green flag contest complete. Restart will be coming up with about 14 to go. Kind of splitting this thing in half, and a couple of mistakes. Jeff Ford and David Comstock too deep in the box. Have to back it up as they go right sides up. There's probably still going to stick with Ford. It looks like both of them will, but this is definitely going to cost them some track position. And the first driver off of pit road going to be Nelson Rivera in the number 12 car. Looks like he may have been the lone driver to go with just a two-tire call to win that race.
Well, and that was a big mistake by the part of Jeff Ford and David Comstock, and you are correct. Nelson Rivera took 2 tires to win that race off of pit road, so we're going to have to see how that fares for him. But Gabe Wood was the big winner in terms of the guys that took 4 tires, as he's going to come out in second after coming in, I believe, in the 5th position. So a pretty big jump for that 00 machine. But this is a challenge that these guys now have here on the iRacing Sim. In the most recent build, we got the animated pit crews, and with the animated pit crews, it's a little bit more difficult to get into your box cleanly. You have to hit your marks almost perfectly in order for the pit crews to actually service your car. And if you slide through, or you make a slight mental mistake like we saw with both of those drivers, it's going to cost you a lot of time on pit road, whereas before you could almost slide through your box and they would still service the car. Now you can't get away with that.
So we do have a couple of drivers who exchange positions. Obviously, the 12 is going to be the biggest question here. How are those 2 tires going to affect Nelson Rivera, who's got now the biggest position gain from 8th to 1st position? And then, of course, I'll talk about defensively. Gabe Wood, Freenars, Ward, Vincent through the top 5. A couple of positions into the negative as well for the likes of Comstock, who was starting this race in 2nd position, but after overshooting the pit stall, is back in P7. I still think it was the right call for him to stick with the 4 tires, not go for the audible and go 2 tires only. Again, not an extremely dense field, but all of our championship competitors very much engaged in these races week in and week out. So I think that little bit of a lesser car count gives him the ability to get some wiggle room per se, and I think that just as we saw in the first drop with the green flag, this one should be exciting as well. We're halfway home in stage number 1, working on lap 15 of 120 overall tonight from Chicago in the Windy City 180. Pace car down it in. Nelson Rivera is going to get a crack at the race lead. He's the control car. Coming out of turn number 4, green flag in the air. Okay start. Gabe Wood looked like he had a better jump, but tire spin slows him down to 1, and here comes Freenars up the inside.
Freenars is on the bottom. He's going to try to challenge with those 4 tires on Nelson Rivera. Nelson gets a little loose as he's trying to get up to speed going through turns 1 and 2. He slides up the racetrack in front of Gabe, and Gabe is going to be the big loser in all of this as he gets trapped behind that 12 machine. And here comes Jeff Ward. He made that mistake on pit road, but it's not going to cost him for long at all. He restarted back in the 4th position, and as they come off turn 4 to complete this first lap after the restart, he's already up to 2nd, and he is right on the back bumper of that 88 machine, trying to challenge for the race lead down in turn 1.
And the 00 still cannot get by Nelson Rivera. He's got his footing under him a little bit better, but you could definitely see that car wiggle in the corner. And right there at turn number 2, just doesn't have that same bite off. But Gabe Wood now in a side-by-side battle with David Comstock for 5th, as opposed to battling for the race lead, which is where I'm sure he feels like he should be in front of them. The battle for the race lead is on. Ward on the inside of the racetrack, trying to, and thought about it, but did not commit to coming up in front of Freenar, so the 88 maintains top side. Apron will get him all the way through. Jeff Ford back to the race lead, lap 18.
And that did not take that 89 machine long at all. He was on a mission. He knew he made a mistake on pit road, and he wanted to make up for that mistake, and he did so in a big way. It only took him about 2 laps to get back to the point where he was so comfortable at being prior to that caution. Meanwhile, while all that's going on, Nelson Rivera is still in the middle of a hornet's nest right now on those 2 tires, as Comstock just made his way around him, and Daniel Eberhardt, who was the reason for our first caution, he's trying to challenge to get back up through there as he's on the bottom trying to get around that 12 machine, and Gabe Wood, who restarted on the front row, he's all the way back to, I believe, the 7th position right now. Just still has not been able to find a way to get around that 12 machine as he's on the bottom of the racetrack trying to finally get around him as they head off into turn 3. He's got the position on the bottom of the racetrack, and this time I believe the 4 tires are going to work, and indeed they will. Gabe Wood will finally get around the 12 of Nelson Rivera.
The Rayovac Chevy of Shane Ewing's going to do the same, and Rivera will fall down to P8. He's now exactly where he started and exactly where he was at the top of the yellow. So net gain of 0. And if Scott Walter's going to pass him up here in a moment, that 28 machine, then it would be, well, a bad call to have gone with the 2 tires, and that'll definitely prove to be a point for wanting to get to the stage break in 10 laps from now. That 4 tires is the call you've got to make. Meanwhile, everybody trying to find their spot in line. You've got Gabe Wood in P6, and really just got his momentum killed when he was stuck behind Rivera and just couldn't get it back going. I wonder if clearing him is going to help things out there. If the 90 and the 42 start to fight in front of him, he could close it. In fact, both of them are closing in on Dwayne Vincent, probably about to see a 3-way fight for third.
And what a good battle we got going on right there. As you can see, Dwayne Vincent, we talked about him earlier on. He's found his way up towards the front, right where I expected him to be, battling with David Comstock and Daniel Eberhardt for those couple of positions. And right behind them, Shane Ewing and Gabe Wood, they continue to have a really good battle, as Gabe kind of threw the block on Shane right there, went down and blocked him on the apron to hold him off to make sure he couldn't get below him going off into turn 1. And these guys will remain single file, but they have a pretty good battle going on right there as well. And you can see all of these guys really racing very hard, trying to get as many stage points as they can to close out this first stage. Every point is critical, and especially since Andrew Freenarge and Jeff Ward are running first and second, a couple of guys that you know are going to be big hitters in the points, you do not want to let them get too many stage points at this point. They have to try to capitalize in these first couple of stages.
Drivers are continuing to be aggressive early on. You see the 42 of Comstock going to make it side by side for third. He again using that apron at the racetrack, which is absolute fair game at the Chicagoland Speedway and many other 1.5-mile racetracks, but it's quite a rough transition at this track in specific. A lot of tracks, the banking really gets notched down on the front, but still 11 degrees of banking here at Chicago, so it is a little bit of a bumpy ride. And see the 42 machine on the inside of the racetrack inherently isn't going to have as good a run off the corner as the 13 and the 90 will, so he's able to use that to kind of make up some ground. But the outside is working very well for Dwayne Vincent. He'll have a good run out of 2 this time, and will probably pull about half to 3/4 of a car length, but the 42 will not let him get completely by him.
These guys just continue to battle on, and now here comes Gabe Wood to the inside of Daniel Eberhardt, trying to take that position away as well, but Dan is going to roll the top, and he's going to carry that momentum to hold off the 00. Now he goes to the bottom of the racetrack, looking for a lane to try to possibly make it 3 wide, but doesn't quite have the room to do so. He had to back out of it to keep those guys ahead of him, and now David Comstock and Dwayne Vincent are essentially blocking the racetrack for Dan, as he just has nowhere to go to try to get around these guys, even though he's had a couple of opportunities to make a big run at him, and that cost him a little bit of ground, which allows for Gabe Wood to once again challenge on the bottom of the racetrack to try to take that position away. And right ahead of him, David Comstock will finally get around the 13, but there's a little bit of contact between Gabe and Daniel Eberhardt coming off turn 4. Somehow they keep it together, but a great battle going on right here.
And when we were checking in with the 00 ended up, I said, hey, if you get those guys fighting in front, Gabe Wood can close in. He's joined the party, and so has Shane Ewing. Both of these drivers have had a little bit of a rough go in the opening 26 laps, have gone backwards from where they started, and Eberhardt right now is trying to prevent one of those positions being made back up by our pole sitter Gabe Wood, who continues to fight with him for the 5th position. Gabe Wood actually had the nose in front last time by, and for the inside being as good as it was off the bat here, outside is starting to gain some steam, and Eberhardt uses it to clear the 00 back, and once again maintains sole possession of the number 5 position.
I'm telling you, as this track gets a little bit more tire rubber on it, and as these guys get a few more laps on the tires, the outside line is going to begin to come in. We're already seeing these guys can use it to defend if they're getting challenged for position. We've seen it time and time again so far, but I believe by the end of this race, you're going to see the groove move up, at least down in 1 and 2, where these guys will be running up in that middle groove, possibly up by the wall before it's all said and done. The one thing that will make it a little bit more challenging for the groove to move up like that is the fact that we don't have a lot of cars in the field here tonight. It'd be a lot quicker of a transition if we had 30 to 35 guys out there, so it might not happen as quickly here tonight, but I still think you're going to see them moving up the track before this thing is all said and done.
It's on by, going to be only 2 laps to go at a stage. Jeff Ward has opened up a little bit of a comfortable 0.5 of a second advantage over Friedars. There are many other positions that are not as secure. Dwayne Vincent and Eberhardt going at it, so the Donnie Machine's been able to fend off the 00, and he goes from the defensive to the offensive as he gets up to the back of the 13. Not sure he's going to have enough time to do it. 1 lap to go at a stage next time by. The Donnie is there, and I have no doubts if Eberhardt sees an opening, he'll stick the nose in there.
Absolutely, that is the style that we are used to seeing out of the number 90 machine, and it would be no different here if he's got the opportunity to do it. Nothing going on with the race lead as they come to the proverbial white flag of this first stage, as Jeff Ward has over a 0.5 second advantage over Andrew Friedars, but a great battle going on back here right now as David Comstock, Dwayne Vincent, and Daniel Eberhardt racing for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th positions. Looks like Comstock's gotten away from these guys, Evan, but the battle could still be on between Dwayne and Dan. Dan's got to get a big run right here if he wants to have a shot, and he almost gets into the wall. He does get into the wall and spins on the backstretch.
And he's not going to save that one. Hard into the inside wall is Daniel Eberhardt. He's in the grass by himself. There will be no caution. And at a turn number 4 to the green and white checkered flag, Jeff Ward is going to open up the evening with the Stage 1 win from Chicagoland Speedway. Friedars is 2nd, Comstock 3rd, Vincent and Wood to round out the top 5. And it was Eberhardt who had the miraculous save once tonight, Brian, and if you don't think that these guys care about those stage points, they put it in all on the line and a little bit too much, the slightest bit of contact as well, but it upset that race car. He took a jump over the access road right into the inside wall, and that's more than likely probably going to end his night.
And when he hit that jump in the infield going towards the inside wall, that was pretty much the final nail in the coffin. He probably could have managed to keep that car under control, much like we saw in his first spin. But when he hit that jump, it just completely unsettled the car and gave him no opportunity to catch it. And just unfortunately, as you mentioned, probably is going to spell an end to the night for the number 90 machine. But he was driving the wheels off that car. He drove the car very deep into turns 1 and 2, trying to find as much grip as he could to chase after Dwayne, and just could not quite hang on to the car. But you have to applaud the effort in the number 90 machine right there to go after it the way he did and try to challenge for that position.
So the points go to Ward, Friedars, Comstock, Vincent, and Wood. 1 through 5, along with Ewing, Rivera, Walter, Stanley, Iyer, and Bavacqua through 10th position. And with that, we end stage number 1 here from Chicago. Driver's going to be headed down pit lane, and of course we expect that to be the 4-tire call, just based on the results of the 2-tire call. Didn't really work out earlier.
No, it did not work out at all for Nelson Rivera, and I think that was all everybody needed to see to know that every trip down pit road is probably going to be a 4-tire stop. Now the question is, will these guys make any mistakes like we saw the last time on pit road? It looks like, oh, Jeff Ward did it again. He slid through his box and had to back up. So another mistake on the part of the 89 machine. We'll have to see how this works out for him as far as track position is concerned. He's working on getting his left side tires now, and it looks like David Comstock's going to win the race off. Andrew Friedars will come out in 2nd. Dwayne Vincent will come out in 3rd. And your stage winner, Jeff Ward, is going to go from 1st all the way back to 4th as a result of another mistake down on pit road.
He made a mistake the first time he came down pit road under the caution flag. That was not enough to prevent him from getting a 4th stage win on the year, which ties for the most with David Comstock, but he loses the race off the pit road, and David Comstock is going to be in front, moving forward from Chicago. We'll take a quick opportunity to step aside when we come back. 30 more laps of action in stage number 2. You're watching the Real Sim Racing Icebreaker Winter Series, powered by LSRTV, on your home for sim racing and iRacing Live. And back live from the Chicagoland Speedway. Lights out on top of the iRacing.com pace car as we get set to rock and roll for stage number 2. It'll bring us to the halfway point. We will have 35 laps down as we race to lap number 60. Another bonus point available for all the positions 1 through 10. 10 at the top, 1 at the bottom. And it was Jeff Ward again who tied a series best with 4 stage wins just moments ago. But a mistake on pit road drops him to 4th. David Comstock also with 4 stage wins looks to break that newly selected tie as he starts this one on the front row. Let's get set to do it again, and Comstock a fantastic start, and he will go right down to the bottom of the racetrack, take the shortest way around up to speed, and is 5 car lengths in front to turn 1.
I think he wanted to ensure that Jeff Ward was not going to get back to the lead in just 2 laps, and it looks like Ward's going to have his work cut out for him a little bit more so than on the last time he had this opportunity, as he is still side by side with Dwayne Vincent trying to just get into the 3rd position at this point. He's out on the outside line and just doesn't seem to have the speed that he was looking for as he tries to tuck in. Now he's going to actually carry that momentum on the outside line, and he's going to fight back. Look at the run. He gets off turn 4 to get right even with Dwayne as they cross the stripe, but Dwayne cut the apron to try to keep that advantage on him, but now it looks like Jeff Ward's going to have to settle in behind him and will maintain that 4th position. But how about that restart by David Comstock? He still has about a 5 car length advantage over these guys.
He's way in front of everything. Freenars has pulled some distance as well in second as the fight for 3rd is on again. Jeff Ward didn't just tuck in line. He went for the crossover and nailed it. He will get the spot back. And Bunky see, Bunky do. Maybe Dwayne Vincent thinking about the same thing. The 89 will go low, and the 13 stays topside with a little bit of a better run. Thought he might have been able to squeeze up there. It's not going to happen. And Jeff Ward gets 3rd back just as quickly as he lost it.
This is going to be the first time we've really seen Jeff Ward have to go on offense like this. He's pretty much been on cruise control all night long, just out in front and not really having anybody challenge him for the race lead. But now, if he wants to win this stage and capitalize and get the max bonus points out of this race, he's going to have his work cut out for him, because Andrew Freenars and David Comstock, they are not going to lay over for him with just about 21, 22 laps left in this stage. They're going to make him earn those points if he's going to get up there to win this one as well. And it looks like right now David Comstock is in a zip code of his own as he just continues to drive away from these guys, putting more and more time between him and Freenars. And that's exactly what he needs to do at this point, is try to put as much of a gap as he can between him and Jeff Ward. That way he can potentially try to hang on and win stage 2 and capitalize on the points.
And they're all going to have to chase down Comstock. He's not going to be giving up that half a second lead without a fight, and in fact grows by 0.2 of a second that lap alone. His 31.655, far better than the second best lap time, the 31.820 by Freenars. Jeff Ward trying to close from 3rd. Then you've got Vincent 4th and Gabe Wood in 5th, trying to creep his way back into the picture again. Really isn't that slow after starting on pole. He did have a couple of bad laps off at the start of this race where he fell to 4th, but he really got hurt, stuck behind Rivera on the 2 tires on the only caution flying for an incident we have seen so far tonight, and he's just finding himself with a lot of evenly strength race cars mid-pack, and he can't make a lot of progress at once. He is challenging Dwayne Vincent, and I think diverting some of that tension from the 13 away from the car in front of him and to that car in the rearview mirror.
And he's really trying to just get back up to where he was at the beginning of this race. But for Gabe Wood, it's just not been his night ever since starting on the pole. He just kind of hung on. Like you mentioned, he got caught behind Nelson Rivera on that one restart, but has a pretty fast car. He's pretty steady inside the top 5 right now, but just hasn't quite been able to get back to where he was at the beginning of this thing. And I'm actually a little surprised right now, Evan, because Jeff Ward, for as fast as he has been all night long and as quickly as he has gone and gotten away from this field, now that he has gotten trapped back in a little bit of traffic, he has just not been able to get back up there. He's about a second off of David Comstock, and he's really not making any time on that 42 machine. You have to almost wonder if maybe Freenars and Comstock learned a little something in that first stage and they're applying it in this one. And Jeff Ward, he gained about a half a tenth right there, but that's not going to do it if he wants to get up there and be able to win this stage as well.
Yeah, and again, the way that the stage breaks work, you do go laps 1 through 30 for the first 30-lap segment, but because of the caution flag period, it's really only a 25-lap second run to the halfway point in this race. The next time by, only going to be 17 laps to go in stage 2. It is definitely shorter. Just want to update you on where everybody else is running. We mentioned whenever Eberhard gotten into the inside wall, that was probably going to end his night. Well, at that point, he was sitting stationary on the pit lane. There was a chance that he maybe could have gotten back out and put it around, hope that somebody else got a DNF and got a couple of points back. That will not be the case. That car has now officially gone behind the wall, so it'll be a P11 this evening for Daniel Eberhard. And although Into tonight was not in the picture, this one's going to hurt him as he was fighting with a couple of other drives. Into this evening was 10th in the points.
Yeah, wasn't really in the championship hunt, but was looking to just try to get a decent finish to the season, carrying into that Full Throttle Cup Series. You want to try to carry some momentum into that series. If you can run in here and run competitively, just kind of keeps your confidence up and keeps your momentum going into the new season, and certainly not what he was looking for here tonight, but has a couple more opportunities with Richmond and Homestead on the horizon, a couple of tracks that he is really, really good at, and I expect that he'll be fast and certainly be a factor in who ends up going to victory lane at that race as well. Got a nice little battle going on just outside of the top 5 right now, though. Shane Ewing and it looks like Gabe Wood and also Nelson Rivera. Man, we've seen these three battling pretty much all night long for position, and looks like Shane Ewing was able to take that position away from Gabe Wood, and now here comes Nelson Rivera. Now that he's got 4 tires and can actually challenge, he is on the offense and he is going after these guys. Has an opportunity to look to the inside if he wants to, but he's going to run a little bit of a higher groove. You can see these guys starting to search around for some grip, and Nelson Rivera is one of those guys as he ran that middle groove down in 3 and 4. Gets a pretty good run, but now here comes Gabe looking to the inside of Shane Ewing for that 6th position.
And I think this is the first time Ewing's been able to get up in front of Gabe Wood. They have it around each other, but the Double O has had the upper hand in many of it, and the 32 not getting forced too high, but you can see Gabe Wood creep it up, and he almost came all the way up in front of the 32. Shane Ewing stays in the gas, and Gabe Wood is going to dive down and give him space. It's not going to matter, though. He will clear him, and Nelson Rivera no longer disadvantaged by the 2 tires. Got 4 at the stage break. He's back even with everybody else. He wants to get back up to where he started. He's running in the number 7 spot at the moment, and now just that time by with the nose in front of you in for 6th at the line.
What an incredible battle these guys have going on. Nelson Rivera will finally be able to clear Shane for that position. Now he looks to the inside of Gabe Wood. I think Gabe got a little tight coming off the corner, had to check him so he didn't hit the wall, and that actually will open the door for Nelson Rivera to almost be able to clear him for that position, and he will as Gabe gets tight again, slides up the racetrack, and it looks like Nelson Rivera will easily take that 5th position. Shane Ewing is going to go on around as well to move into 6th, and now Gabe, it looks like he's having some serious issues with the handling on that machine right now. Just looking, I think, at this point to get back to pit road to get some fresh tires.
Not long from that point, meanwhile, big run up for the 32 of Ewing as everybody in this 3-car group of Rivera, Ewing, and Wood continue to shuffle them up. It's this time going to be the 32 on the attack with as much of a run he had into 3. I thought it was a surefire pass for the 32, but you got to give credit to that 12 of Rivera doing a good job of playing defense, fighting back on the outside, and in fact almost being able to maintain the race lead that time by the 12 right back in it. Anytime you get somebody side by side, you draw the cars in from behind, and Gabe Wood, a little misstep that time, going to lose a lot of momentum at a 2, but is very much a part of this thing still.
It's worth noting while all that was going on, Jeff Ford was able to move into the 2nd position, and he is now making time on David Comstock. He's gone from over a second behind to this time at the stripe. We'll have to see as it updates. He's going to be about 0.6 of a second behind. He's got an opportunity here to try to chase down that 42 machine with 10 laps to go in this stage. This is the point of the run where the tires are really going to matter. If he's got anything left in that 89 machine, now is going to be when he has to show it if he wants to go up there and win this stage. He's definitely been closing the gap. You can see he's still running right around the bottom of the racetrack, almost on the white line all the way through the corner. Runs up the track just a little bit in the middle, but still carrying a tremendous amount of speed off the corner, and it looks like he gained a pretty decent amount of ground that time by. And as they go across the stripe, indeed he did. He gained another whole 1/10 of a second right there. So this is about to be a battle for the race lead, and we're getting ready to have some things heat up.
He's only got a limited amount of time. He's 8 laps to go the next time by, but he is coming and wanting to make it exciting to the stage break here. The gap is getting further apart between obviously he and Freidars as he pulls away, and the 88's not under much threat by the 13 and Wayne Vincent at the moment, and Wayne Vincent's got 1.2 seconds back to Rivera, so it's really going to be a battle for 1 and 2, and then still that 3-car group in the back of the pack as they go side by side again. Here comes the 00 of Gabe Wood fighting with the 32 of Shane Ewing for 6th, and he will get it. About the 4th time a group of these cars have swapped out for position. Far from over. 00 pushes up, Ewing goes for the crossover, and they'll dance again.
And this is some exciting racing right here. These guys are just going at it, and they are having a blast doing it. Looks like they are at least, and you can just see Shane is on the bottom of the racetrack doing everything he can to try to get that position back. They know how valuable that 1 point could be. Gabe Wood knows exactly how valuable that could be as he's trying to battle for the championship, and he's got all the guys that he's battling with the championship for in front of him right now, so he cannot really afford to give up that position if he doesn't have to. He really needs to try to get up there and challenge Nelson Rivera to get that 5th position and try to get that valuable point as well. But he's got a little bit of a distance to make up if he's going to do that, as he's almost a full second behind Nelson at this point, and he's running out of time as we're coming to, I believe, 6 laps to go in this stage. And while all that was going on, it looks like the gap has begun to steady out between David Comstock and Jeff Ford, as he's still inching closer and closer to that 42 machine, but he's not gaining the ground that he was just a handful of laps ago. Only about a half a tenth that last time by that he was able to gain on the 42 machine.
And that's not going to be enough to get the job done in the 5 laps that still remain on the board. You have to get at least where he sits now, close to a 1/10 of a second per lap, because it's not just about getting to the 42, but if the Comstock's not just going to pull over and give you the preferred lane, the 89 machine might have to get a little bit nifty with where he goes in the corner to try to just not follow the 42 again, unless you're just straight faster than him, which, hey, the 89 machine probably been the best car so far to this point, but you can see they're running different lines. Comstock all the way down to the white line in the corner, the 89 stay to maybe in David's him on the back bumper. Final time to 3 and 4 in the
I'm driving the number 20 JGR Toyota Xfinity car this weekend. Really great opportunity here at New Hampshire at my home track. Over the past 2 weeks, I've been on iRacing, practicing a little bit here and there with the modified and the NASCAR Xfinity car, so it's been a lot of fun. It's been a great tool for me to kind of get used to that stock car body again. So,
there's no more bonus points on the line. We are racing undeniably.
As he backs,
the 88 has had speed, but has not been able to lock it up, and will be unable to defend for the time being. Keep in mind, this is the longest run of the race. So,
or the tire-saving guy that likes to, he's trying to pull the stage that Jeff Ward had a really fast car. It looked like he had managed his tires pretty well, and had he had a couple from the 42 machine.
Freidars, Ward, Vincent, and Wood only separated by 0.4 of a second. Fantastic pack, 2 through 5 right now. Hard to split them apart, and feel like something's got to give here in a moment.
Something's got to give, and for Andrew Freenars, I think he wants to try to keep that 89 machine behind him for as long as possible to try to keep himself up in the running and maybe have a shot to go challenge David Comstock himself here in a little bit. But how about Dwayne Vincent and Gabe Woods? They have emerged into this battle, as you just mentioned, and all of a sudden it's a 5-car race for the lead almost here. But I got to believe at this point that Jeff Ward is not showing his full hand. As we've seen all night long, he's had a really fast car, and he's just not showing the speed that he had at the beginning of the race. I believe he's holding back, saving those tires for the longer part of this run, and once it's all said and done, I think you're going to see that 89 machine back out in front. He's got a really good run this time off of turn 4, makes the crossover move to the bottom of the racetrack, and he is going to challenge for that second position. Now, can Freenars hold him off on the outside line? The answer is going to be no, as that Jeff Ward was able to clear him before they even got to the corner, so Jeff moves back into second.
Another power move. Both of the passes on Freenars by Comstock and Al Ward happened into turn number 1, and again, didn't see much of a pushback for the 88. Not that I think Freenars is just rolling over for these guys, but maybe sees that it's in his best interest, considering that I think up until this point, Comstock and Ward have shown themselves to be the fastest 2 cars on track. Do not try to fight with them. Maybe let them eat away at their stuff a little bit. Maybe hope to get them on a strategy as this run continues on. Plenty of fighting, though, still inbound. Gabe Wood continues to try to make his way back to the front. Still scored in 5th. He's been stuck here for some time. Wanted to get 4th, but Vincent with a good run out of 2 is going to keep him at bay for the time being. With a double O is a good spot on the inside of the racetrack. Don't count him out. It's been quite a while since Gabe Wood was P4. In fact, it was in the opening 15 laps, but he's almost back up there. And again, it just goes to show you how easy it was, Brian, for him to lose those 3 spots in about 3 laps, really, at the start of this race, compared to how difficult it is to get it back. And he's really getting antsy now. A little bit tight on Vincent that time, rolls out of the gas.
Yeah, that was a very, very close moment for these 2 drivers as Gabe Wood drove that car down into the corner, and it just did not stick, and he had to check up massively in order to not run into the door of Dwayne Vincent. Did a great job, but that cost him a tremendous amount of time, as now he's about 3 car lengths off the back bumper of Dwayne Vincent, and is going to have to work pretty hard to get back to that point where he can even challenge for that 4th position. And you almost have to wonder, too, if overdriving that car the way he didn't maybe hurt the tires a little bit, especially that right front. And this is a track that already abuses the tires enough. You really don't want to give them any more reason to be upset with you. And I just have a feeling that might have been a bit of a mistake on the part of the 00 machine. Have to see how this plays out for him. But how about Andrew Freenars? He's starting to slide back into this battle as well, as Dwayne Vincent has begun to chase him down and is certainly looking to challenge for that 3rd position here in the next lap or 2. If he can get just a little bit closer, he's going to have an opportunity to do so.
Still running 10 cars total on the lead lap, and yes, kind of monitoring Freenars and Vincent and, you know, Gabe Wood, Rivera, and everybody, but I got to be honest, I'm watching the intervals up front because we could be seeing a repeat of what we had at the end of that last run, but I think there's no doubt that Jeff Wood was faster than Comstock towards the end of the run, but we're not stopping at lap 90. We're not going another 30 laps. We got another 30 on top of that. So I wonder if Jeff Ward's going to take it a little bit easier, or based on, well, as he goes to the inside of the racetrack, and think maybe Comstock missed the line a little bit that time, but 1 and 2 went way up the hill. He just wants to get this pass done with.
I believe David Comstock, because of how quickly he shot out of the box to go to the front, that he might be considering coming to pit road and splitting this final run into 2 30-lap stints. I believe, based on how he ran this first part of it, that you'll see him on pit road at or around lap 90. And what's going to happen at that point is it's going to force the rest of these drivers to come to pit road with him, because already, after less than 15 laps on these tires, they are almost 2 full seconds off of what they practiced at the beginning of this race. They were running 31.3s, 31.2s in practice. They're running 32.8s right now. They're not going to be able to stay out on the racetrack very long at all if he decides to come to pit road. They're going to have to come in with him, and that's going to force a guy like Jeff Ward to make that decision very quickly, because if he stays out there for just a lap or 2, he's going to potentially give up 3 to 4 seconds on David Comstock. He cannot afford to do that. So I think that's what we're about to see out of these guys, a little bit of cat and mouse playing, and Comstock is just trying to hang on to this race lead right now, as it looks like Jeff Ward has gotten right to the back bumper of him. Less than a car length separates these 2 now.
And if we do indeed see drivers headed down to the pit lane to be able to make it on fuel to the end of this race, something else you have to keep in mind is, well, when do drivers decide to come down pit road? Do we split this leader right in half and pit at lap 90? We know you can go further than that 30-lap distance because fuel was not at all a concern through stages 1 and 2, or do we stretch it out as far as you can, hope for a very quick pit stop, maybe only take the splash needed to the end, maybe also couple that with taking just 2 tires to limit your time on pit road and hope that you can outlast the field. So there's a variety of options. I don't think we're going to see David Comstock and Jeff Ward play with those kind of options, but even for somebody like a Freenars who was still in a great spot in third, you're 1.2 seconds off. I don't see you all of a sudden finding that speed to just all of a sudden be better than the guy sitting in front of you. Of course, late race restarts, anything can happen. You put the elbows up, that's a different story. But on a long green flag stretch like this, I would not consider that those guys making a move like that would be a gamble. I think that's almost what you have to do. But again, do you want to risk what is a good points night in third to try to get those guys up front who have been the class of the field?
It's definitely a risk versus reward game, and if you're Andrew Freenars, as you mentioned, he came into tonight as the points leader. I don't know that you want to take too many chances that might potentially jeopardize that points lead. You've already given up some stage points to both David Comstock and Jeff Ward because they have won the first and second stages of this race. I think at this point you almost have to just follow in the tire tracks of what they do. Try not to make any mistakes. We've already seen both of those 2 drivers, Jeff Ward and David Comstock, make mistakes on pit road under caution when it didn't cost them as much time. If they make a mistake now under green, it's going to be a much bigger mistake than it was when they were under caution. That split second or 2 that they lost on pit road is going to be magnified if they make that mistake here. Andrew Freenars, while he's losing ground to these guys, and he's 1.3, 1.4 seconds back right now, if that happens on pit road, you could see him as the race leader with an opportunity to try to steal this thing. So I don't know if I'm in his shoes that I'd take any major chances. If I'm one of these guys that's on the back half of the top 5, Nelson Rivera, Gabe Wood, Scott Walter, Shane Ewing, one of these guys, maybe I go ahead and I try to gamble here and see if I can short pit, get some fresh tires quicker than these guys and try to get out in front of them. Or maybe I can think, well, I might only be a couple of laps short of making it to the end. Maybe I can try to save some fuel and make it without even coming back to pit road.
Well, the gears are turning, and I'm sure they're kind of strategizing at the moment with the folks on top of the pit box and maybe any spotters they've got in the session. Definitely the crew chief, though. What do they think? Try to get some input right now. Things have calmed down for a moment, and that's considering the fact that we've still got a couple of good battles on track. In fact, the battle up front is still only a 1/10 of a second of a difference, but Jeff Ward isn't applying the pressure. For as quickly as he got to the bumper, I think that Jeff Ward's just kind of hanging back as they run right now. We'll see if that ends up playing out. We've seen this strategy implemented by the 89 many a time on a Monday night in the past. Get a better race car, don't need to wait the tires, kind of play with that guy in front of you, set him up, and then make the pass when it makes the most sense. But even behind them in third, Freenars and Vincent have been going back at it. The 13's took in a couple of looks, but hasn't gone there, so everybody seems to want to just get a few more laps off of the board before they really start to make these moves.
Yeah, I agree. I think Jeff Ward is just kind of hanging out at this point, just waiting for his opportunity. He's definitely proven he's got the faster car out of these 2 drivers, but I think, like you mentioned, he's got plenty of time. He's still got 43 to 44 laps left in this race. Plenty of time to make that move. Plus, they are pretty comfortable in saying they're going to come back to pit road at least one more time. You want to get past that pit stop. You don't want to get yourself in a precarious situation right now when you know you got to come to pit road, and then you can challenge for the race lead at that point. And if you are able to get on and off pit road cleanly, you might have an opportunity to win that battle coming to pit road. So definitely has a couple of opportunities here to make it a little bit
to the end, but we are now in unofficial, or I guess officially, uncharted territory. Never gone this far on the tires. This lap, or this run has been green. No caution laps have happened. So now the cars are going to be in a position that these guys are not yet used to. Now these drivers, thousands, Brian, of laps of experience on these cars, but it is just a noteworthy point that these guys are going to be working with race cars that, to be honest, all night long, and you mentioned it right at the start, talking about that they've been loose in practice. They haven't been handling all that good on the fresher tires tonight. They're only going to get worse, means that not getting any better.
Yeah, and at this point, they're now in that point where they have ran more laps in this run than they have all night long. This is above and beyond going to be the longest green flag run because of the stage racing that we've had. So they're in a little bit of uncharted territory. As you mentioned, they don't really know what to expect at this point of the run, which is kind of why I was expecting a lot of these guys to elect to pit right around that 30 lap mark, because that's where they're comfortable. They know what the car is going to do for the final run. They know once they get that out of the way, they don't have to come back to pit road unless we were to get a caution. So they can just kind of settle in and be ready to go. But so far, these guys have kind of blown my idea out of the water, because we're on lap 93 and nobody's made that move to come to pit road, and they just continue to log laps here. And David Comstock just continues to hold on to this race lead, and I still think, like you mentioned a handful of laps ago, Evan, that Jeff is just kind of sitting back. He's relaxing. He doesn't know, or doesn't feel like he has to make that move right now. He knows he's got the faster car. He's had the faster car all night long. Why put yourself in a precarious situation with still about 35 laps to go? No reason to do it before you have to, because you don't want to put yourself in that bad spot.
And it's a little bit different with 27 laps to go, but especially when you get really late, and it's something that we talk a lot about on the short tracks, is you don't want to give a guy a chance to get back at you. Now, in this context, on a 1.5 mile racetrack where you're doing 180 miles an hour into the quarter, we're not really talking about bumping a guy out of the way and you not wanting him to get back to your bumper to pay you back. But we have seen plenty of times tonight, just with the way that this racetrack races, somebody goes to the bottom, you know, they get the good run in, they make the pass, but they're slower off, and you see the crossover. And I think that that definitely has to be a concern for Jeff Ward, because if you do that and David Comstock starts fighting with you again on a long run, I think the 89's got the best car. I think the 42 has the second best car. But it goes back to the point you made about Farinars. Aside from making a pit strategy call, if we have a late race restart, it's anybody's game. Once you start getting side by side with somebody and you go elbows up, you know, that advantage really fades away, and it just comes down to who can outrace the other guy. And as I say that, Comstock has a monstrous slide at a turn number 4. He will hang on to it. It closes the gap a lot. Jeff Ward does not want to use that opportunity, though. Stays back. That was a close one.
And what an incredible save by the 42 of David Comstock. That could have been big. That could have been similar to what we saw Daniel Eberhardt go through at the beginning of this race when he got into the wall off of turn 4 and slid through the grass. And that was the direction that it looked like Comstock was going in for a moment, but somehow he managed to keep that car pointed in the right direction and did a great job hanging on to the thing. And truthfully, he didn't give up much time at all to Jeff Ward. In a situation like that, you almost expect him to lose the race lead, but somehow he managed to hang on and it actually just opened that gap up a little bit as he opens it up to over 0.2 of a second. So very impressive by the 42 machine. And I want to talk back about the pit strategy at this point. These guys are now well over 2 seconds slower a lap than what they were at the beginning of the race. If you're one of these guys that doesn't have a shot to win, this is where I'm coming to pit road right now, because at 2 seconds a lap, you still have enough time to make your pit stop, get back out there, and be able to run around this track faster than everybody else, get your lap back, and potentially get up there to challenge for the race lead. But that window is closing in a hurry as we're getting closer to 20 laps to go. You need to be on pit road pretty much in the next lap or two if you want to have an opportunity for that strategy to work. And if I'm one of these guys in the back half of the field, I'd be taking that shot and just seeing if it works. Throw the Hail Mary.
Why not? With 22 laps to go, you got to make a move for it. We've seen drivers overstep that boundary. At least going for the race win. You have to consider, though, as we see Ward to get the closest he's been all night, and just as you say it, Brian goes to the inside of the racetrack. Comstock squeezes him down as much as he can, and the 42 is able to hold him off. I don't know if Jeff Ward rolled her out of the gas or not, because he was right down to the grass, but a Comstock right there is showing you that he is not afraid to put it all on the line. Really aggressive at the 89 that time.
And Comstock's not going to lay over here if he's for Jeff Ward in the closing part of this race. He is going to make Jeff Ward earn that victory. If Jeff is going to win tonight, he is going to work harder for it than he has worked all season long for one of his victories. And he's looking for a back-to-back wins. He won last week at Road America and definitely would like to make this battle really intriguing. Just how close these guys are going to push it to the edge in the final 20 laps of this race as they're coming to 20 laps to go right now. Can Comstock hold him off? He had a big wiggle off turn 4 yet again, keeps it pointed in the right direction and keeps the momentum going once again for that 42 machine.
And with 20 laps to go in this one, let's let you know where everybody sits. Take a quick look top to bottom. Comstock leading, Jeff Ward in second. This is where all the cameras are going to be trained. Behind them, Farinars in front of Dwayne Vincent for third and fourth, with Elsa Rivera running in fifth. Gabe Wood is sixth position. Scott Walter still seventh. Shane Ewing is eighth. Shane Stanley Iyer ninth. And Steve Bavacqua has fallen a lap down P10. Daniel Eberhardt is out of this race in 11th position. That's a quick catch up top to bottom. Of course, intervals at the top of your screen throughout. Comstock and Ward, though, they have been, I think, this one car length separation for going on 15 to 20 laps now. And the 42 machine, you can't help but feel Brian knows that a move is coming. I think when he saw the 89 look to the inside, go to the 8 but a couple laps ago, he thought that was it. Went all out, driving down to the bottom, and he's waiting for another one. And I think the best thing for him to do is, if you're lacking the speed, is just stay on the inside of the racetrack. I know you don't have as good of a run off, but you could always, if you really want to, kind of push that guy up when you're in the center of the quarter. I think if Ward gets to his inside, it's going to be very difficult for Comstock to do anything.
Well, and it's also worth noting, especially if you're Jeff Ward, that Andrew Freenars has begun to close that gap down. He was as far back as 1.6 seconds just a handful of laps ago. He's now down to 1.2 seconds. So Jeff, while he's been patient to this point, at some point he's got to start being a little bit more aggressive and try to take that race lead away, because now I still believe Jeff has the faster car here, but he's going to wait too long, and you're going to have the 88 machine making it a three-way battle for the race lead, and that's not what he wants. He wants to settle this thing between him and Comstock, and he wants to do it as quickly as possible to try to get away. But he's running out of time at this point, as we're down to about 16 laps to go, and he just hasn't been able to get close enough to make that move. We saw him one time get to the inside of Comstock, but Comstock held him down as close to the bottom of the racetrack as he could and was able to carry the momentum to get clear. And since then, Jeff Ward has just not been able to get back to him, but he continues to stay right on the back bumper, keeping that distance between them down to less than half a car length, just waiting for the 42 machine to make a mistake that he can capitalize on.
Last time by, a little bit more time closed in by Farinars, but it was only to the tune of 4/1000ths of a second. But because he has closed in, as you mentioned, to nearly a second off, if these two up front get side by side, he could be in a position to be a dark horse and come out of nowhere. He is not done dealing with Dwayne Vincent, though, himself. The 13's only a couple of car lengths off for the back bumper in their fight as well. 15 to go. Longest green flag stretch of the night, obviously, with no stage breaks in the second half of this race. And these guys are still looking like maybe trying to go all the way to the end of this race, working 106 or 120.
And these guys are beginning to search for some different lines up here at the front of the field. The last time through 3 and 4, Jeff Ward went to the middle groove. It worked. He was able to gain some momentum. Now he's right on the back bumper of Comstock, and he's going to run a little bit of a higher groove this time. Goes up again to that middle groove, almost up into the third groove as he was in corner entry. And now you can see how much of a run he's going to get off turn 4. He gets a pretty good run here. He starts closing the gap down. Didn't get as much of a run as he was hoping, I believe, as he's still about a car length off of the back bumper of David Comstock, but just trying to find something at this point that might give him an opportunity to go after that 42 machine down to the bottom of the racetrack through 1 and 2 that time by, and it did not gain him any ground at all as they stay even at their gap between one another, and he is just looking for something at this point.
Going to be just a flip of the switch. The 89 really gets after it. What a corner. Is he going to have to ease into it? Obviously not wanting to give an opportunity to get back at you as we look back in that fight for third. This is really going to hurt Farinars' hopes of maybe being a dark horse if a fight happens up front, because Vincent is on his inside, and we are fighting side by side for third position. Maybe Dwayne Vincent was also taking the Jeff Ward school of making a pass and hanging it back a little bit before jumping on it at 11 to go.
Well, and you can also see just how much time this has cost both of these drivers, because they were 1.2 seconds behind before this battle started, and they're already down to 1.6 that quickly. And Dwayne Vincent was not able to complete the pass, as Andrew Freenars was able to use the outside line to maintain that third position, and he's actually gapped Dwayne Vincent just a little bit now to be able to hold on to that position. But now, as you mentioned, he's not going to be in a spot to go after that dark horse win over these two if those two get battling side by side for the race lead. at 1.7 seconds back. You're almost too far behind to even be able to capitalize, and it looks like this battle has closed right up for the race lead as Jeff Ward is on the back bumper of David Comstock. I thought he was going to make the move down into turn 3, but he backed off, looks for a good run through the middle of 3 and 4. He's going to get it, and can he make the move as they come to the stripe? He's going to have to follow Comstock to the apron, not close enough to get to his door as they head to 1.
They're continuing to fight first and second, third and fourth. Obviously, points on the line. Where do these drivers sit in the overall championship? David Comstock leading this race came into tonight with a 13-point deficit, third overall in the points, ahead of Jeff Ward, who was just on his bumper, fourth overall in the points, 21 points back. Then championship leader Andrew Friedars is third. This would tighten things up, but with the mistake Gabe Wood made earlier and has been unable to recover from, who came in tonight second, the overall interval night might make a difference. Here we go, the 89 to the inside, the 42 staying up top. I was thinking maybe Comstock would want to protect the bottom, but he went way up top for grip. The 89 looked to the inside. It was short-lived. He's right back behind him.
I think Comstock did that by design. He went up there and he gave the bottom of the racetrack to Jeff Ward, and it paid dividends coming off the corner as he got a great run coming off of turn 2, and he was able to put a little bit of distance between himself and Ward, and that actually worked out well for him. Now it's going to be interesting to see, does he do it again down here in 1 and 2 once again? And it looks like the answer is going to be yes. He runs up in that third groove once again, trying to carry that momentum off the corner. He arcs the corner, drives it off the track, or off the top of the track to the bottom, and once again you can see the momentum that he's able to carry off that turn 2, and it puts about a 2-car length gap between him and Jeff Ward. I think he might have been saving that move for the end of the race, and now inside 10 laps to go, that's exactly what he's needed, because he has opened that gap up, and he continues to drive away now as he's put another couple of car lengths on Ward as they come back to the stripe, and it looks like that gap is going to open up to over 0.2 of a second now with about 6 laps remaining.
And almost at the point now, it's going to be next time around at 5 to go, where we will reach that pointed overturn. If a caution flag comes out, this race will be done and over with. So no more opportunities for a restart. Friedars has dropped 8/10. He's now 2 seconds back. He did successfully hold off to Wayne Vincent, who's 3/10 behind him, and I'm not sure we'll be able to get back up to him. But Friedars is now that much further away from trying to sneak into the picture if and or when something happens up front. But I'll tell you what, Brian, this is the biggest gap we've seen between Comstock and Ward in some time. To be fair, it's only 0.2 of a second, but at 5 laps to go, that's a lot of time.
That's a lot of time with 5 laps to go, and for Jeff Ward, I am amazed that he has not followed that 42 machine up to the top side in 1 and 2 to try to use that lane to gain a little bit of ground. Running the bottom of the racetrack just continues to cost him time, and it's not going to help him at this point unless he just doesn't feel comfortable up there or something. I'm just very surprised at this, but he got a great run through 3 and 4 that last time by. He's able to close that gap back down to inside 0.2, but once again down here at the turns 1 and 2, and now Comstock goes back to the bottom of the racetrack down in 1 and 2, which was a little bit of a surprising move for me, as it did not pay dividends for him, I don't believe, as Jeff Ward followed in his footsteps and actually gained a little bit more ground. And as they go down to turn 3, it's getting down to it. We're coming to 4 laps to go. This time by, Jeff Ward drives that car off into turn 3, gets right to the back bumper of Comstock, and has to check up just a little bit on corner exit so he doesn't smack the wall, but got a great run, and he is there as they head to 1.
And at this point, there's no doubt that anybody is hanging back any longer. Jeff Ward is trying to get the win. If he would, it would be his 4th on the season. And it would also obviously mark the series' best 4th win, but it would most importantly continue to ease the gap in on championship leader Andrew Friedars. Out of tonight, only 2 races left to go on the year. But Jeff Ward has not yet won back-to-back races this year. Gabe won the opener, and then Jeff Ward won at Vegas. David Comstock took the next win, and then Jeff Ward won at Iowa. Anthony DeBarro won the following week, and then Jeff Ward won 1 week ago at Road America. Has been unable to go back-to-back all year. He's 2 laps away from snapping that trend, but he's not close enough, and he'll lose more time down the back.
Yeah, Comstock went back to the outside line, and he really made it work as he was able to get up to that outside line, carried a tremendous amount of speed off the corner and open that gap up, and that could be the final nail in the coffin for this battle as he has opened it up to well over 2/10. I think this is going to be closer to 3/10 once they come back to the stripe, and indeed it will. It's going to be over 3/10 of a second, and now if you're Jeff Ford, the only hope you have with 2 laps to go is for that 42 machine to make a mistake, and the only mistakes we've seen out of either of these drivers all night long have come on pit road, and we know at this point they're not coming back to pit road, so the mistake's not likely to happen out of either of these guys.
And you wonder with the 89 machine to Jeff Ford if he was indeed hanging back to make the move on Comstock. Did he hang back for too long? Did he ease that, pressure off just long enough to allow Comstock to save a little bit in his own respect? The white flag is in the air from Chicagoland Speedway. There will not be a fight for 3rd and 4th unless something happens late in this one. Jeff Ford is going to get a good run, but he has too many car lengths back for a racetrack of this size, and he's going to make a hard drive into 3 to 4, but I just don't see how this one ends up any different way. Comstock going to take the preferred line, and he will win the 2nd stage en route to the race win. Final time at turn number 4. It'll be his 2nd win on the year. David Comstock gets the win from Chicago and tightens up the championship with now 2 races left to go.
What an incredible battle we saw between 2 of the veteran drivers of this league out here. Jeff Ford, David Comstock, been around for a long time. They know how to race each other. They put on one heck of a show right here, and you got to feel for Jeff Ford because he had, in my opinion, probably the best car all night long, but when it was time to go, David Comstock rose to the occasion and got a big victory here at Chicago. And how about Andrew Freenars hanging on to get that 3rd position? That's going to allow him to at least try to protect that points lead just a little bit with just 2 races left. It's going to be very interesting. I can't wait to see how this championship plays out.
I'm going to be checking for the championship standings later on in the evening so we can see just what exactly that will be. But you look at the overall picture, David Comstock and Jeff Ford both get stage wins. Comstock gets the overall win. They both came into tonight behind Friedars. Means that those drivers will tighten up in the points. It is a tough break for Gabe Wood, who gets, still a respectable result. And Ward are going to
for me. It wasn't long after that I was driving an old 78 Camaro out of the weeds at that guy's farm. We pulled that thing out and made a race car out of it, and away we went. I think a driver has more to do with the equation going back and racing dirt, whether it's a modified, a late model. You can do more with the race car. The harder you drive it, a lot of times, the better it goes. You can crawl up on that wheel and feel like you made the difference at the end of the night. Asphalt car, you can't overdrive them. That was the first thing that I had to learn right off the bat is, oh my gosh, I've got to discipline myself, not overdrive this thing, and that's how you get the most out of it. Truth be told, communicating the right information to your crew and your crew chief so they can do their job and make their appropriate adjustments for you to go faster and do your job is probably 90% of the game in our world. I've always loved late models. My dream was to be a late model driver driving for a living across the country like Daryl and
And welcome back live to the Chicagoland Speedway from Joliet, Illinois. The Windy City 180 has come to gone, and we are 7 races down, 2 to go on the 2018 Real Sim Racing Icebreaker Winter Series. David Comstock is your winner tonight. 2nd on the year. We will go to victory lane in a moment. Before we do, we take a look top to bottom at tonight's LSRTV full race results. Comstock and Jeff Ford had plenty of fights this evening, but just as stage 2 ended, the race does as well. At Comstock first, Jeff Ford 2nd is how they cross the line. Both drivers gain on 3rd place finisher Andrew Freenars in the championship, who gets a respectable finish this evening in his own right. Dwayne Vincent picks up 3 spots and gets a P4, and another gain of 3 for Nelson Rivera, who recovers from a little bit of a misguided 2-tire gamble early in the race to round out your top 5.
Finishing in the 6th position here tonight. He started on the pole. Gabe Wood just not able to recover from his mistake at the beginning. He'll come home 6th. Then we got Scott Walter in the 7th position. Shane Stanley Iyer will finish in the 8th position. Then we have Steve Bavacqua coming home 9th. Shane Ewing comes home in the 10th position. And rounding out the 11-car field here tonight, Daniel Eberhardt, after some problems at the beginning of the race, the self-spin off turn 4, and then the spin to complete stage 1. He will finish 11th, and we'll round out the 11-car field here tonight. And Mr. Pasoko, I believe you have made your way down to victory lane, where you're going to catch up with the guy that just had an incredible battle with Jeff Ward. You're going to catch up with a race winner, David Comstock.
Second time this season, he's parked the 42 Chevrolet in victory lane. David Comstock is your winner tonight for the Chicagoland Speedway. David, congratulations on the win. Should also note you got the Stage 2 win, so that was your 5th on the year. That's a series best, and you keep making this championship picture interesting. You came into tonight 13 points out of it. You get a win. You close in the gap with the stage points, and you got to be feeling pretty good, I would think, going into the final 2 races. But before we look ahead, tell us about this one, because you and Jeff Ward went toe-to-toe for quite some time there.
Yeah, just any track position in order to get to the front. I felt like we were pretty quick. Long runs, you know, we had the caution between the first segment, but I felt like after we got a few laps that I was equal, maybe a little bit better here and there on some laps, catching them, and then we got to that last stage, and it was just I ended up building a gap, and then it looked like both of for our cars between Jeff and I, we kind of just we both stabilized out. Like, he caught me, and I guess with him catching me, he kind of burnt his stuff up, maybe. I'm not sure, but we just ended up neutralizing out at the end there, and it was just whoever made a mistake, and also at the same time we're looking at fuel and seeing if we needed to pit or not, or save fuel, or what we needed to do. So it was kind of just like you're just winging it in a way, but we were able to hold off there, and we were able to kind of play around toward the end, find a little bit different lines. I felt like the top was working through 1 and 2 a couple times, build a gap. Once I felt like we were good on fuel, because I had to back the corners up a little bit in order to save what I needed to get to the end, because we were maybe half a lap short at one point. So, but happy to keep the momentum finally rolling again with us. We had a couple bad weeks where felt like we were somebody's punching bag every single race there for a little bit. A couple of bad luck races, especially New Hampshire. That was a really bad one, getting taken out on that one. But hopefully the next couple of weeks we can just keep this momentum rolling, and definitely get that championship points swinging back in our way.
In Loudon, you guys started off the race well, but as you said, caught up in the accident, not able to get through. This one really a complete performance for you guys. Obviously, this is the format that we've been running all season, with the stage breaks at quarter and then half distance. But we saw how the 89 was able to get up to you at the end of stage number 2, which was obviously half the distance of that second run. So how much were those tires falling off towards the end? Obviously, with the longest green flag run of the night, how much of that did you guys anticipate? And did you feel like maybe, your track position, especially by really giving it to him there and not letting him get by at the stage break, did that track position to make the difference maybe? Because you guys looked pretty even for those really final 30-40 laps.
Yeah, definitely track position. I mean, I messed up on the pit stop between segment 2 and 3, and I slid through the box. So we gave away the lead there because I messed up. But definitely that second segment, was able to test what I needed to do for the third segment, how hard I needed to run, if I needed to back the entries up a bit, or drive in the corner harder, because it was definitely, you drove it one way in turns 1 and 2, and you had to drive it different through 3 and 4. So it was a handful for sure. I really liked the way the tire fell off to where it started going on the loose side for me. That's how I like to drive. So was pleased on that last run that I was able to figure out what I needed to figure out, and just that, like I said, the track position was really what we needed, because if it was Jeff in front of me, I don't know if I would have been able to get by him. He seemed like he was struggling to try to get by me, and I probably would have been in the same boat if I was in his position. So thankfully we were on the right side for this one.
Something tells me you guys are going to find each other in these next 2 weeks, but we look forward to what's upcoming. You guys have a win this season at Michigan. You've got a win at the smaller track here tonight, 1.5 miler in Chicago. And we crank it down to Richmond. That's going to be around 8, 1 week's time. Second to last race on the year. Obviously, I don't have the exact numbers on me yet, but we will know the points, I'm sure, shortly, and you guys will have, a heads up. Actually, just checking, the points are updated. It is -3 for you guys. You are second in the points, -3 as of now. So it's basically anybody's game. Richmond and then Homestead. Where's the confidence level? What are going to be the keys to finding success there as well?
It's just perform every single week. At this point, it seems like it's heads up. So every segment, every end of the race, you just have to pretty much beat your competition. Goal is to go out and try to win every single segment and win both races in the next couple weeks out. I think that's all we need to do. I'm sure that's what Jeff and Andrew, that's what they're going to be trying to do. Even Gabe Wood, he's right there in the mix. So, it's going to be mano a mano all the way out.
And we definitely look forward to catching you guys the next 2 Monday evenings. It was a hard-fought evening, so we will let you take off, David. We appreciate the time as always. But before we do, the sponsors and the shout-outs, who powers that 42 car?
Special thanks to everybody at Aftermath Motorsports. Their support every single week. On here, Turn 1 Heroes with Nelson Rivera and Gabe Wood, running with them here. Real Sim Racing and the leagues you guys provide here at Live Sim Racing TV, the broadcast and everything. Thanks to you guys. Sponsors on the car, JT Plax Plus. Head over to Jonathan's website, David3, the code. Get yourself 25% off. Moss Energy, Gary Mercer Trucking, JD Lair, JDR Graphics for the paint schemes, keeping it fresh every week. Hick and Jick, CJ Brakes, all the fans. Blake Matthews, biggest fan. Thanks to him. And all the family for watching. Thank you.
The race winner tonight from Chicago, David. Again, we appreciate your time. We appreciate your support of the series. Congratulations. And 2 races to go. It's anybody's game. We wish you the best of luck. Hopefully we'll have an opportunity to chat next week. We'll catch you at Richmond.
Thank you.
That is your race winner in tonight's Windy City 180. Jeff Ford also closes the gap. He will go into next week 16 points at the top spot in the championship. They're all still chasing Andrew Freenars. Both of those drivers trackside with Brian Backlund. Begin with the driver who netted P2 tonight. That is Jeff Ward.
Yeah, I have caught up with the second place finisher here tonight. Jeff, you won stage 1. Looked like you had everything going your way. A couple of mistakes down on pit road, though, got you behind, and just unfortunately weren't quite able to ever rebound from that to get back to the race lead. But an incredible battle between you and David Comstock. Take us through your evening.
Yeah, Brian, that was fun. This come up a little short there. Like David said, track position was everything tonight. It was tough to pass. I could get up to David, and but I just couldn't get a fender on him. I probably could have forced something there a couple times, but after getting into him last week, it probably would have turned out bad. It was so loose, coming up off corner that if you're side by side, that probably would have been a little rough. But I tried to get there. The right rear just started fading a little bit, and then I seen that we were short on gas. I actually ran out of gas coming out of 4, so I wasn't able to chase him like I would have liked to those last 3 or 4 laps. I had to let up and start saving gas. So congrats to him. He did what he needed to do. He really closed the gap on Andrew there. And unfortunately, we're 17 points back going to 2 tracks that I don't really like and I don't feel like I'm that great at. So especially Homestead. So it's not looking good, but we'll keep digging.
Oh, and you actually led right into what I was about to ask you. With the 2 races coming up, the gap is down to, I believe, 16 points. And with the stages that you have there as an opportunity, I was going to ask you, did you think you had an opportunity to maybe get into this championship battle? But it sounds like you don't have a lot of confidence heading into those 2 tracks. What makes those 2 tracks a style of track that you're just not too big of a fan of?
I like Owl a lot. I know Richmond draws comparisons, but I feel like it's a lot different. There has been some changes with the dynamic track that allows Richmond to build run a little higher, and hopefully that helps. But man, I'm just not great there. I don't know what it is. I kind of struggle with turn 3, getting through that corner. So, and I know David's gonna be great there. He's a good short track racer. So I wouldn't be surprised if he wins the thing and takes the points lead there. But like you said, with the stages, maybe we can go out there and sneak a couple stage wins in, and then there's that chance that someone could get in trouble. But with such low car counts, it's pretty clean racing and a lot of green flag laps. So we'll just have to see how it plays out there.
Sure to be very exciting indeed. Of course, we have Richmond and Homestead coming up, and got a great points battle between you 3 and including Gabe Wood as well in the next couple of weeks. But before we let you go, Jeff, just want to give you a chance to say thank you to your sponsors and say hi to any friends or family who makes it happen for you on the 89 machine rather.
Yeah, thanks to you guys for doing the broadcast. thanks to my dad, he likes watching these. This thanks to my team, Loud Pedal Motorsports. Thanks to Dave, there's a couple times where things could have got shook up, but he races me clean. A couple times I've gotten into him, and like I said before, I apologize to him for that. Just thanks to Real Sim Racing and Championship Esports, and that's about it.
It's always awesome to hear when you have family that's actually involved in this and getting to watch it. So glad to hear that your dad's tuned in. We're going to say hi to him, and congrats on your good run here tonight, Jeff, and good luck next week at Richmond.
All right, thanks, guys.
Comes up just short for his back-to-back victories this season, but he gets a good finish and a good points night nonetheless. Now I'm going to catch up with our third-place finisher. He came into the night as the points leader. He will leave the night as the points leader. Andrew Freenars, third-place finish, and a pretty solid night for you, but the points gap is closed up. It's 3 points between you and David now.
Yeah, closed up a little bit. Had a good night. Top three. I mean, we pretty much had a third-place car all race and finished there. Part of that's on me. Didn't really get a lot of practice. Ran the iRacing Rolex 24. Most of my focus went there, so didn't really expect much tonight. Did a lot better than I thought I would, and I'll take a third place finish. The points lead did close up a little bit, but that was expected. And next two tracks I really like, so move on there and see if we can't hold Dave off and see if we can't get a championship.
And with the next two tracks coming up, Richmond, Homestead, obviously there are some pretty challenging tracks. Richmond being the little short track, and then Homestead being another 1.5 miles that presents its own challenge, being the type of track that it is. How do you feel going into those two races as the points leader? Do you feel like you can hang on and get this thing done?
I'd say Richmond, definitely a good track for me. One of my favorite tracks on iRacing. I feel comfortable there. I feel like I have a lot of speed there. So that place is really good, and then you go into the final race at Homestead. We'll really have to see what the points look like then. But right now, we're going to take it one race at a time. I think all of our attention turns to Richmond, and then Homestead has been a good track for me in the past, but right now our focus is on Richmond, and Homestead will deal with it when it comes.
And obviously, as this season winds down, we're getting closer and closer to the Full Throttle Cup Series coming up. How much does running well in this series carry some momentum into the Full Throttle Cup Series for a guy like you? Didn't necessarily have the season you were looking for last season, but you're running really well here. Does it really kind of translate it all going into that series coming up in about a month?
Oh, yeah. We made the Final Four in the Full Throttle Cup Series last year, and it's a whole new ball game with these stage points. So really wanted to run this to see what the stages are like, see what it's like, maybe short pitting at the end of a stage or something. So, got a good feel for it. I feel like, running good just gives us more momentum, and we'll go in there feeling confident. Definitely did not expect to be in a championship battle in these. I kind of ran this to learn, but it's just icing on the cake. So definitely boost our confidence, and we look forward to that. But right now we got to focus on closing this one out.
Indeed, you do. Before we let you go here tonight, I just want to give you a chance to say thank you to your sponsors and say hi to any friends or family who makes it happen for you on the 88 machine, Andrew.
Big thanks to LSRTV for broadcasting the race. All you guys, you do a great job. How about it to Jeff and David there? They put on a heck of a show. That was a lot of fun to watch in third. They were sliding and moving. Hope the fans really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that from third. I know I was trying to chase them down, but you got to appreciate good racing when it happens. That was really cool. I got to say thanks to all my family. My brother builds a computer for me. My dad watches every week. My grandpa. All my friends and family. Steve Spots wasn't here tonight, but he's usually on the box. Sean always watches. My friend Glenn always watches. Everybody. Mark just kind of new on our team. He was there tonight to talk it through. Daniel obviously was out there, kind of helped me learn the track, and just everybody involved in this 88 team.
Well, congrats on your good run. Congrats on holding on to that points lead, and good luck over the next.
Proved critical tonight. Gabe Wood finishes 6th. We noted that is still a good result, Brian, but he goes from -7 into tonight, -23. So that is the margin of error when you combine a couple of spots at the end of the race. But 3 or 4 at stage 1 and 3 or 4 at stage 2. They add up. And again, Faridars will maintain the championship lead. It is a 3-point deficit, as you just said, for Comstock second. 16 points back is Jeff Ward, and Gabe Wood is 4 points, or rather in 4th position, but 23 points back. And if there's any place, a common theme these guys brought up, Brian, chat with them, was you don't want to make a mistake. You can't slip up. If you're going to find yourself in trouble, it's probably going to happen next week on the short track at Richmond. Homestead, you know, it is a completely unique 1.5 mile racetrack, unlike any of the other, you know, the Vegases and the Chicagos of the world that we've seen already this year. But, I mean, if something's going to happen, if we're going to break this thing wide open, I think it happens next week.
Well, and it may not necessarily even happen on the racetrack. We saw out of David Comstock and Jeff Ford both that their main mistakes happened on pit road tonight. They slid through their box. They had to back up. It cost them critical time on pit road. And they were both able to rebound from it and get first and second. But for Jeff Ford, you have to wonder what could have been. If he didn't make those mistakes on pit road and he's able to stay ahead of David Comstock through those cautions and those pit stops, he might have been the guy that was holding on to the race lead and defending over David Comstock instead of what we saw here tonight. So, yeah, it's going to be very critical to be clean on the racetrack, but you also have to be very, very careful on pit road. Can't afford a mistake like that. And at a short track, you get caught up in some traffic. It could end up to you getting turned into the wall because things happen in an instant at a track like Richmond. You don't want to get caught back there in the middle of the pack, and then next thing you know, somebody gets into you and you get turned around. So going to be very exciting. I can't wait for that race. Richmond's one of my favorite tracks. I almost wish I could go down and join them on the racetrack because it's such a fun track to race on. But we're going to have a heck of a show, and I believe you're going to see a very similar situation that we saw here tonight. Guys all over each other, racing hard, but racing clean, and it's going to be really fun.
And we hope that you join us for that one in 1 week's time. But if you don't want to wait 7 days for the Icebreaker Series to return, we've got you covered. We've got everything booked through Saturday. We'll be on air tomorrow night with another installment of the NASCAR iRacing Pro Series, as that one also wraps down as we get set to hand out some tickets to the 2018 NASCAR PK Free Series. Then on Wednesday, the Myrtle Beach Simulation Series, presented by the Championship Esports Association, is back in action, also closing in on the championship. And sticking with the theme, we are chase racing on Thursday night with the Upset Racing League. Coverage for that one starts at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. This Friday, the Sunwest Construction Superspeedway Cup Series is back in action at 9 o'clock. And as always, our Saturday night doubleheader at 9 o'clock Eastern, it is the Outlaw Modifieds, and at 10 o'clock, it is the United States Racing Truck Series. You can find a full upcoming broadcast schedule on our website at www.livesirracing.com. But the best way to stay up to date with us, as always, is on social media, on Twitter at LSRTV, on Facebook at facebook.com/LSRTV official, and of course right here on YouTube by hitting the subscribe button at youtube.com/C/LSRTV. Until next time, on behalf of the entire team at Lives to Racing LLC, the folks behind the scenes, Laura Lawson, everybody who makes it happen up here in the booth night in and night out, and of course for us this evening, for myself, Evan Pasoko, for Brian Macklin and Cisco Scaramuzo, I want to thank you for being a part of it and congratulate David Comstock on win number 2. It is a 3-point difference in the championship, and it all rolls on to next week, Monday, January the 29th from Richmond. That race and every race. The Real Sim Racing Icebreaker Winter Series, powered by LSRTV, can be found right here on your home for sim racing. Until next time, good night. This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSRTV, and it may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Live Sim Racing LLC and iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations. LSRTV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.